Hey everyone, Brian Von Vie here. Got another D&D story for y'all. Today we've got Unveiled, a Changeling's Story. My character, Vale, is a changeling rogue with a changeling father and an heir genasi mother. She has an older changeling sister called Shade that we'll get into in a bit. Her backstory is that she was adopted by the noble Renault family and befriended their daughter Valerie. She grew up without a mother and without knowing that she had a sister or that her father was nearby. One day she watched Valerie get killed by a criminal organization called the Bloodfang. Torn by her loss, she went into a rage and returned to her senses when the entire building was in flames. The presence of the Bloodfang organization completely annihilated the city of Renault. Confessing to Valerie's father, he adopted her and told her she should take on Valerie's form and life to honor her. She did, becoming the perfect courtesan lady for a few years. One day, she just left as Valerie, hoping for adventure. That's where the backstory ends. Now, onto the campaign. Her first adventure was a level 1 dungeon crawl with a couple of strangers who met in front of an abandoned temple. The big bad evil guy was introduced, helped the party by killing a mob of undead, and took the MacGuffin in the temple before leaving them to fight the dungeon boss and get out alive. The story eventually takes them back to Renault, where they realize that Valerie's soul has been traded for the soul of a demon, and that she's trapped in the abyss. Vale approaches the big bad evil guy and pleads with him to save Valerie in exchange for anything he needs. And he agrees to take Vale under his wing. Reluctantly, she becomes the big bad evil guy's agent to save her best friend. She then unlocks some latent psychic powers, becoming a soul knife, and the DM decided because he liked her story to give her some OP soul knife attacks that can be used once a day and potentially kill anything less than a higher level boss. This is demonstrated by the DM releasing a Kraken at the party and having Vale roll to one-shot it at the expense of being drained of her psychic powers until she gets a long rest. They run into Bob, the lecturous wizard working for Renault. He is from a homebrew school of transmorgification, which he uses primarily to transform willing subjects into more interesting and naughty forms. He tells them that he's been sent to retrieve Vale because her adopted father is unwell. They head to Renault and see that he's been corrupted by a demon and has given orders to the Archmage to mobilize an army. After a tragic and heartbreaking battle, Vale ends up releasing him from his suffering and vowing to stop his madness. The commander of the Renault armies swears allegiance to her cause and mobilizes the Renault army to stop the Archmage and his army of demonically controlled soldiers as they approach the city of Avenheim. When they arrive, they see the massive army approaching with Valerie at their lead. It's much bigger than they were led to believe. The party is hopeless. Vale is broken when Valerie almost kills her, and they prepare for the final battle of their lives when the big bad evil guy and his two loyal companions show up to help protect the city. An epic battle starts, and Vale sneaks into the tower to slay the Archmage who ruined her life. She is confronted by Valerie and another assassin, each of whom outmatch her until one of the big bad evil guy's two companions cuts Valerie down, and with the help of the party cleric, restores her soul from the abyss and heals her. Vale is saved from a killing blow and being plane shifted for one turn as the battle continues against the Archmage and his champion. As they whittle the champion down, Vale returns at the end of the next turn, crashing through the sunroof and plunging her psychic daggers through the champion's eyes. The Archmage teleports away as the tower starts to crumble. Vale manages to escape with Valerie. The big bad evil guy, having sent his comrades to help the party, is overwhelmed and had to use his legendary AoE attack to annihilate the attacking army while sparing the innocents. This takes its toll on him, and the party returns to him as he's dying. He says the slaughter reminded him of his family, and he couldn't let others fall into the same darkness he did. He tells Vale his final request is to find and look after his son, who ran away as a child. She promises him she will, and they have a ceremony to honor the redemption of the BBEG. Her vengeance complete and her friend back, Vale subconsciously shifts into a new form. A pretty form never before seen. She calls herself Luna and enjoys some peace and quiet with Valerie before her next campaign's appearance. She knows she has a duty to find the BBEG son, Kyrian. and honor his request. The former DM is playing Kieran in the second campaign, which I was DMing. You see, the Archmage was working for the former King of Renault, and after the near destruction in the Battle of Avenheim, the other nations in the continent rallied against Renault. Several months after the BBEG's heroic death, the new party finds themselves in a city as the lockdown happens and there's no longer a way out. Fighting starts at the walls as the party tries to figure out what to do. They see fire in a building far away from the walls and the fighting, and decide to investigate. They see a young Bloodfang agent running for his life as a tall, angry tiefling woman chases him. This leads to a short chase scene until the tiefling reveals that she's Vale in her vengeance form. Kieran persuades her to spare the kid, who wasn't even a member when her tragedy happened, and she walks away. The fighting continues and everyone rallies to the walls, including Vale. But even her efforts are no match against the coalition of armies. Everyone's on their back foot until the party manages to take down a Warforged Titan, forcing a retreat when the party's artificer extracts the self-destruct mechanism and holds it for everyone to see. Some downtime happens where everybody feasts and rests, where Vale delivers the final message she's been tasked with to Kieran. A party member notices a hidden passage in the royal palace and decides to investigate, finding a shrine that was not supposed to be there. After some detective work, they figure out it's a shrine of the Traveler, god of changelings, shapeshifters, and change in general. They are interrupted by commotion outside. The enemy coalition has launched aerial attacks from many airships, dropping oozes and slimes of all sorts into the streets. The party splits up, never split the party, and an Avengers-scale battle begins with some fighting their way through the ships and the rest trying to clear the streets while knee-deep in slime and ooze, including a couple of slithering trackers thrown into the mix for an epic ooze battle. While distracted by the ooze bombardment, the enemy coalition makes its way through the walls and systematically torch the remaining ooze in their way. Everyone retreats into the royal palace before the artificer rigs the bomb, convinces a goblin to run as far as it can with it, and sends it off towards the approaching army. A big explosion rocks the city, and the enemy coalition is decimated, except for a few survivors. The remaining forces are more than enough to lay siege to the royal palace, however, and as a battle of champions begins, Kieran is pulled aside by the new queen, who tells him to retrieve something from the catacombs beyond the city. It turns out to be the ancient vampire lord who created the Renault bloodline, who calls for the ancient binding treaties between the houses to be honored. During his speech, he's pulled up into the highest tower as the palace is starting to be sealed off. The party runs in to save him, and they meet Vale in her original form there. They meet the queen, who reveals that she's Vale's sister and the one behind the shrines. And after a long battle, she grows wings, grabs Vale, and escapes, leading to another chase scene in the sky above the city where she's cut down and sent to the crater from the explosion. She casts one last spell to release her soul and possessed Vale before using her ultimate psychic attack against her pursuers, falling into the crater. The party investigates and finds the broken body of the queen, then are confronted by the Traveler himself, who says he is disappointed in Shade, who let him down despite becoming the queen. He explains he's the reason Vale's life was so messed up, among other things related to the state of the world. The party encounters Bob, a lecherous wizard working for Renault. He is exhausted from fighting and surviving a slithering tracker through this chest. He takes them to Vale, who's been knocked out and kept unconscious by Zalt, a friendly mind flayer. He explains that her mind is too fragmented and that they need to be sent in to fix it from the inside, saving her from possession. They travel across 4 different segments to save her personas: a hellish space where the vengeful tiefling Helena, representing anger, Sandy Beach with a temple door where Valerie started her first adventure, a throwback to Session 1, representing sadness, a mountaintop surrounded by clouds where the peaceful and serene angel Radiance dwelled, representing serenity, and the small farm where Luna, once representing happiness, weeps with the darkness of Shade's corruption. They fight Shade and her alter ego, a crazy, seductive half-elf called Jinx, and defeat them. Vale traps both personas and assimilates them, effectively imprisoning Shade and adding her personas to her own. The primary form reveals herself and admits she's representing fear. The party tells her about the Traveler's role with the Archmage and her family's fracturing, then leaves. Vale leaves the city silently as the party wraps things up in Renault. Shade is stunned that the Traveler has turned his back on her and swears to help Vale on her new quest of vengeance, giving her everything she needs to kill this meddling god. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, back at it again, just checking in after the vid. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and to ring that bell to get notified whenever we post, or maybe when we go live. As always, if you have a story to tell, please head on over to r/Mr. Ripper, and if you'd like to see more content from our big boy channel, go to Mr. Ripper. All the links are in the description below. And be sure to come stop and say hi to me on Twitch and YouTube, Brian Von VA. As always, please make sure to stay fed and hydrated in these trying times. The world is getting a little bit cooler, but you still need to stay on your toes. All the love, everybody. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.